Hi, PerspectaWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday, September 18th. A very active tropical scene here in the Atlantic Basin. We have another major hurricane. Hurricane Humberto reached Category 3 status in the overnight hours. Continues to move away from the U.S. East Coast. It will, however, have a big impact on the island of Bermuda later today, tonight, and into the early part of Thursday. It looks like hurricane force winds will arrive on the island of Bermuda as Humberto continues to move to the north and east. Meanwhile, tropical storm Imelda has weakened in status overnight as now a tropical depression, continues to dump tremendous amounts of rainfall in southeastern Texas. Some areas already have received as much as 15 inches of rain, and the heavy rain will continue over the next 12 to 24 hours or so. Now out in the central Atlantic, a tropical wave has intensified into Tropical Storm Jerry. Here is the latest location of the new tropical storm on the scene here, Tropical Storm Jerry. Notice another wave trails that one. Again, we talked about how active the breeding ground region of Africa has been over the past couple of weeks, with multiple waves there just basically feeding into the Atlantic Basin. Looks like the Atlantic Basin tropical season will remain quite active, not only through the rest of the month of September, but into October as well. Signs right now point to this continuing to move on a northwest track and likely not ever reaching the U.S. East Coast. Too early to write it off completely, but there are signs that it will turn away before ever making it to the U.S. East Coast. Meanwhile, this is Bermuda right here in this little area right here. This system, Humberto, continues to move to the northeast. It'll slide to the north and west of Bermuda, but because its wind shield has expanded so much, hurricane force winds are quite likely on the island of Bermuda over later today, and especially in the overnight hours going into early Thursday. Meanwhile, Imelda has been downgraded to a tropical depression, but it continues to dump tremendous amounts of rainfall. Southeastern Texas, the western side of Louisiana. Again, some areas more than 15 inches already, and could end up with 2 feet of rain in some spots thanks to Imelda. Well, let's take a look at some infrared satellite imagery loops. On this particular, from this particular vantage point, we can see Tropical Depression Imelda over in this region right here, and again it has dumped more than 15 inches of rain in some spots. Another foot of rain possible in some of those areas across southeastern Texas. The heavy rain will extend all the way up into interior eastern Texas and the western extreme part of Louisiana over the next 24 hours or so. Meanwhile, Humberto, now Category 3 storm. This is the island of Bermuda right at the end of this arrow symbol right there. And again, Humberto slides to the north and west of Bermuda, but its windshield has expanded so much. The hurricane force winds extend out some 60 or 70 miles from the center of the storm. So indeed, hurricane force winds are likely in Bermuda tonight going into the early part of the day on Thursday. Meanwhile, the new kid on the block, Jerry, right now it looks quite healthy indeed. It's a tropical storm, sustained winds at maximum sustained winds of about 45 miles per hour, continuing to move in a general west to northwest track. These are the islands on the eastern part of the Caribbean Sea. It looks like it should slide north and east of those islands on its way towards the Bahamas, but again, there are signs that it'll turn around and go to the north and then northeast before ever reaching the U.S. East Coast. Still way too early to write it off, but again, a new system now that is named Tropical Storm Jerry. Well, back to the continental U.S. in the U.S. surface map here, and again, the big player is a very, very large high-pressure system sitting over northern New England, southeastern Canada, that is producing spectacular weather in the mid-Atlantic region. That spectacular weather with comfortable temperatures and humidity will continue right through the day on Friday. Some spots, isolated spots, actually bottomed out in the upper 40s late last night, early this morning, and that certainly can repeat late tonight, early tomorrow, and the next night as well, with some suburban locations along the I-95 corridor region actually bottom out in the upper 40s for overnight lows. Meanwhile, frontal systems stalled out now across the southeastern U.S. Imelda continues to cause some tremendous rainfall across southeastern Texas and into the western part of Louisiana as well. Well, let's walk through last night's 6Z GFS model run. We're looking at the surface maps. These maps, by the way, available at tropicaltidbits.com. Here is Humberto. Central pressure now down in the 955 range or so in terms of the central pressure. A major hurricane now, Category 3. Again, thankfully, continuing to pull away from the U.S. East Coast. However, the bad news there is that it looks like it'll have a big impact on Bermuda later today, tonight, into early Thursday. Meanwhile, back over southeastern Canada, New England, the mid-Atlantic region, total domination by this strong high-pressure system, and that'll produce some very stiff onshore winds or east-northeast winds over the next few days from the Carolina coastline all the way down to Florida. More rain over the next 12 to 24 hours or so from what is now tropical depression Imelda. Let's keep pushing forward here, and certainly high pressure remains the main player in the northeast U.S. Spectacular weather for this time of the year in the mid-Atlantic region, for example. Here we are now Friday, still the high sitting on top of the region, but at this point the high will then shift to off the eastern seaboard. That will open the door for some very warm air to move in over the upcoming weekend. Here we are now Saturday afternoon. Notice backside of the highs, there'll be a development of southwesterly flow in the lower part of the atmosphere, and that will pump some warmer temperatures, warmer air into the mid-Atlantic region. Highs confined to the 70s over the next 3 days, today, tomorrow, and Friday, but then well up in the 80s again, likely for D.C., Philadelphia, New York City on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday after that high indeed shifts off the coast. Then we start looking at Tropical Storm Jerry, which is very likely to become a hurricane over the next several days. And here's a sign of it by the latter part of the weekend. Again, there are early signs here that it won't make it as far as the Bahamas, and it'll start to make a turn out over the Atlantic to the north and then northeast, and never make it to the U.S. East Coast. Of course, a little too early to write that off completely, but we'll monitor that possibility over the next several days. So again, spectacular weather continues for the mid-Atlantic region, New England, southeastern Canada over the next several days, thanks to tremendous strong high pressure to the north. Humberto reached major hurricane status, will impact Bermuda later tonight, tomorrow morning, and Imelda continues to dump some heavy rainfall on eastern Texas and the western part of Louisiana. That's it for now. For PerspectaWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.